viewers, and thanks for tuning in to WACA TV's new business series, True Business Ownership with Rita Coco. I'm Rita, and I'm your host of these business episodes. When we do these business episodes, we bring in wonderful experts that will talk to us about business practices that really help you as a business owner have two things: the relationship you want with your business and the business you want, so that you're not sacrificing, you're not in stress, and you're not suffering. We call this kind of ownership true business ownership. And we have experts, and one is with us today, who will tell us how to implement these best practices in the discipline that they are so great at. So today, Pedro is joining me, Pedro Silver, and our topic today will be a new and different way to a wealthy and healthy retirement. Now, don't touch that remote thinking retirement. That's at the end. I'm not in necessarily need to know about retirement. I still have 10, 20, 30 years to go. The more you know about getting ready for that retirement, the better and the healthier and the wealthier you will become. So let's not wait any longer. Welcome, Pedro.
Thank you, Rita. Good to be here.
Good to have you, Pedro. Before Pedro begins, let me talk a little bit about why Pedro is here and what his background is. He is a chartered retirement planning counselor, and I know Pedro because he's one of my financial advisors. He's a certified financial fiduciary. Pedro assists companies and business owners like yourself to implement retirement plans to do three things. And these three things is what Pedro is going to be talking about today. The first one is to be able to retire on your terms. The second is to recreate your income after retirement. And number three, to prepare for unforeseen situations which can affect the value of your business. Now, what's nifty is that Pedro is a writer. And he has written for professional publications. And I have at least 4 different publications that I know are just the four out of many. And let me name them. He's written for the Wall Street Journal. He's written for Yahoo Money. He's written for U.S. News and World Report and for Morningstar. And that's one of the reasons I brought Pedro on, is because he is so articulate when it comes to talking about finances. But more than that, he is incredibly insightful. It's not common business practices, but the countercultural business practices that you're going to hear about today. So, Pedro, let's get started with the first question. Ready to go?
I'm ready, yes.
Okay, great. So business owners have focused on operating and growing their business with the idea of someday monetizing that business. Take that business, sell it, give it to my kids, get some money, royalties from my adult children, whatever way they get that buyer to buy. The thing is that they've always felt that this is going to go in my retirement coffers and I will be happy. So I've always enjoyed our conversations around that kind of thinking. So I'd love you to talk a little bit about defining a new way of looking at retirement for our viewers today.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a new way to think about retirement. It had started changing pre-COVID, and it's really progressed as people realize that their physical location may not be as important as we once thought. Obviously, technology had to catch up, but I think the idea of just one day walking away from your business and going fishing may no longer be what people are looking for. Realistically, if you love what you do, you may not be looking forward to the day when you no longer do that thing. So what retirement might really mean, if we were honest, would be the ability to delegate and have a work-life balance that would be 100% malleable to our personal and family priorities at any time. So I ask clients these questions. I say, picture your life at perfection. Where are they? Who are they with? And what are they doing? If someone can have those things and have their business running successfully, they're much less likely to think of retirement as a date on a page. And obviously, this might mean you need to set up your business so that it's staffed properly, so it has the systems and procedures needed to operate without you being there every day. And that's what you focus on, Rita. But in the big picture, a business that can operate that way is worth more than one that requires the owner to be there 24/7.
Oh, goodness. Pedro, you're so right about that. We have names for this type of balance, this work-life balance. You call it a new way of looking at retirement, and I call it true business ownership. So tell us more about the this idea of new retirement.
Well, I think we both know people that think that the busier they are, the more successful they'll be. And our culture kind of idealizes the idea of multitasking. And some people even see the number of hours they work as something to brag about. So they would say that they work 60 hours or 72 hours. They might say that I can't take any time off in May. That's our busiest month. And that's a sign that the business owns you, and you don't own the business. So it's backwards. I think ideally people like you help people figure out their profitability, not just their hours worked. And people like me give them the financial tools to be able to enjoy their time away from the business.
I love it. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. The idea that you can have two sides. We, in fact, are two sides of one very valuable coin. One being getting that business up to snuff to retire well, and understanding from your point of view what that retirement looks like and what you have as options, including that business to retire well. I love that coin analogy. I'm going to stick with it. So let's continue. I have loads of questions for you. One of the most important discussions I have with clients are often associated with two major numbers when it comes to retirement. One is, what is that number that I need to get to? What's that magic retirement number? What do I need? What's that figure? And then the other thing is, if I'm monetizing my business, what's the value that I have to create in my business? So those are the two numbers. What am I looking for a retirement figure? And what am I looking for a business figure that makes me really relaxed and comfortable and healthy mindset about my business?
It's a great question, and that number can be elusive. So from what I've seen, retirement is really about individual cash flow. If people can reduce or eliminate debts and have more income than monthly bills, then that lump sum amount may actually not be that high. We have clients with pensions who are much more relaxed about their retirement than those who might have more assets on paper, but whose net worth fluctuates on a daily basis with the market up and down. The good news is, if you're a business owner, is setting yourself up for future personal cash flow, or mailbox money, as I sometimes call it. It's actually very doable, and the government actually encourages it through tax deductions. Additionally, insurance and investment companies have really stepped up to create products and strategies to fill in the gap where pension plans once existed.
So cash flow is king in the world of business, and cash flow is king in the world of my retirement. Okay, keep going, Pedro. This is what I mean by we don't think that way, and you bring to us ways of mindset thoughts and mindset shifts so that we can be wealthier and healthier, so that we're not worried. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, it's really very similar. If you focus on household cash flow, having enough money show up on a monthly basis, we can often eliminate some reactive mistakes. So people who come into large sums of money, like when selling a business, for example, are often surprised by how much the accounts can fluctuate in real dollars on a daily or weekly basis. And that can make them overly reactive to avoid what they would consider large losses. I'll give you an example. So if you have a $50,000 account and a 10% decline, you lost $5,000, which is unpleasant, but it's not life-changing. After you sell your business, let's say you have a 10% decline on a $2 million account. Well, you just lost $200,000. While it's the same percentage loss, the additional zeros can feel very different to someone who's never lost six figures. And focusing on the cash flow is the key to solving this "how much do I need" question. Just like the business has cash flow, the business owner is going to have the same in his or her personal life. And having more come in than go out on a monthly basis, reducing or eliminating debt is the key to retirement. And that can be done if you start early and if you have a plan.
I love. This is the first time I've heard this analogy, and I'm loving the fact that I know smart business owners already are paying attention to their cash flow. They're already paying attention to, do I have enough for expenses? Do I have enough? Should there be a bump in the road? And do I have more than enough to put in my pocket? Now transfer that business mindset to a retirement mindset. And as you're saying, that's a healthier way to be thinking, which I absolutely love, 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 love. So talk to me more about that idea of flexibility in terms of being not so intense on that, what's going to happen, keeping that flexibility. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's really the magic word, is flexibility. And that's why you want to have retirement a plan and why you want to have your own money. You want to be a true business owner, not an employee of the business you created. That's a key difference. Being able to retire or not retire, to cut back, to delegate, and know that everything is going to continue to function properly, and be able to do that at any age you choose. This could be for some people age 75, some people age 55, some people age 80, could be any age. There's some important IRS related dates you have to be aware of in my business, like 59 and a half for retirement withdrawals, age 65 for Medicare, but even those are malleable if you plan ahead.
Right, right. Those ages are so key, and we just can be worked up about making sure we get to that, or waiting until those dates to retire. And there's a lot of people who really want to keep on going. Some of my clients are in that space. So I love, love, love the viewpoint of how much attention should be placed also on that second number. The first number being the retirement number, which we've gone over. Now let's talk about the business value number. What can you tell us about how to look at that in a way that's healthy?
There's a way that I think about it. I don't do business valuations, but I do recommend working with people who are able to give you an accurate value, such as an accountant, for example, and working with people who are able to maximize that value, like a business coach. But since a business is one of the business owner's largest assets, and often it's a key component of their retirement, having a grasp of what it's worth is essential. The way I view it is the following, and this may be a little simplistic, but I consider some businesses to be like annuities. This could be an insurance company, it could be like an orthodontist, for example. They have recurring monthly income that can be projected out into the future. The value of that business is typically just a multiple of that revenue, and it depends by industry. Other businesses are very different. Could be like a kitchen cabinets, for example, or a pool company. They have much less frequent purchases, and they really rely on the relationships and the reputation of the business owner. In both scenarios, leveraging retirement plans and retirement planning really will allow for a more efficient transition, and it makes a lot of sense.
So again, even though we've talked so much, I'm always thrilled to hear how you look at and give us examples of how to look at value. It's the first time I've heard of looking at value. Not that I haven't heard about multiples of a profit being part of your value, but what kind of industries would have multiples versus other industries, which would be a little bit more difficult to figure out. And so we know that having a business valuation way before even you go to sell is a very smart move. I love those insights, and I'm hoping viewers, you're getting a sense of how we're looking at valuing the business, looking at retirement in a little different way today. Okay, so we're talking about the business owner, Pedro, getting really interested in that business value and making that business worthy of a great sale so that you win big at your end game and during your exit, and those monies go into a coffer. So if I'm spending all that time as a business owner doing that, why do I need any other business retirement plan? Aren't you going to go out of business if I don't need your retirement plans?
If everything goes exactly as planned, you're absolutely right. And you get to sell the day you want to sell to the people with cash in their hand. That's perfect. And this is one of the things that I think you and I have seen. I'll go through a couple of different examples, but realistically, no matter how hard someone works or how well they run their business, there's always a chance that things beyond their control will change. And I'll just give you some examples. There are numerous, but I think of folks that perhaps had terrific Blockbuster or Radio Shack franchises, and they ran them tremendously well. But those businesses became less and less relevant because of technology. And it only takes a few years for things to change drastically. Past few years, we could talk about your business value being affected by legislation. This could be the holistic health space or what we call alternative medicine. They're always dealing with different licensing requirements, which can affect who they can service and how they can get reimbursed. I think of environmental legislation. I can foresee that being an issue for landscape businesses, having to go electric, and what's that going to cost to replace all that equipment, and what does that do to the value of the business? Even very, very simply, as in the past 2 years, from a legislative perspective, you could just be told to close your doors. So if your plan was to sell your restaurant between 2020 and 2021, this plan has likely been altered. So another thing that people that may affect the value of the business is you may not be well diversified. And we probably could see as a great advantage or a feather in your cap if you have a large multinational company as a client, but it does present some risks, because if you lose your biggest client, that could be a great effect, or a great, that could affect you seriously in terms of the value of the business. If that's 40% of the income, then that's a big reduction on what someone would be willing to pay you. I think of a change in location, like due to a lease expiring, what that could do for a restaurant can affect your foot traffic, your parking, your history, the look and feel of the business. So I think we can understand that a forced move, or any move, is always going to mean some expenses and disruption to the operation, but in some instances, it can permanently affect the value of the business itself. Some other modern problems, perhaps, you think of a cybersecurity breach, which is all over the news. What's that going to do with the value of your business if it hits the news? You could have a lawsuit that ends up in the news, and really even more modern, it could be social media misstep. It could be someone on your Twitter account saying something that all of a sudden alters the public perception of your business, and therefore the value, through nothing that you did in terms of running it. It was just a misstep, and now you're stuck with it. So the last one I'll add is probably something you're familiar with, and it's really not a change in the value of the business, but it's a change in what you're able to get for it. And for many people, it's actually a really good thing and something that they look forward to. And this is what happens when a child wishes to take over the business. While this is often a goal and it's personally rewarding, many business owners are less likely to receive a full value offer or a buyout from a child than they are from an outside entity. A child continuing a family business is great, but it may mean that the business owner never gets the money they need to retire.
Yeah, that is so spot on in terms of the family business, because I do work, as you know, with family businesses as well as people who want to sell to an unknown buyer or an employee. But and so it is risky. Their retirement is risky because no matter how many years you work with your adult children, there's still can be a change in what they perceive as how they're going to do the business, and you're trying to get royalties from their efforts. So I so get that. Plus, I absolutely love all of the different cautions you have given us. And I'm sure business owners do look ahead and say, what will happen when, like the landscaper who says, what if it all goes electric? What do I do now? So I see now that we do need retirement plans. So you can stay in business, not because you need to stay in business, but I'm saying, I think I can hear that not only will we always need you and folks who help us with the plan, we always need you to tell us too, when do we start looking at a business, business plan is mine, retirement plan is yours. Let's talk about, when do we begin to look at retirement plans as seriously and not as something that's way in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this may be selfish on my part, but I consider it part of the operation of the business. It's integral. It should be right away. So you have payroll, you have insurance, you have an accountant, you have a website. You should have a retirement plan. Business owners often tell us that they pay a lot in taxes. Retirement plans allow them to reduce this liability. And as I mentioned, if you start early, you have the power of compounding interest to help you grow your money through the ups and downs of several market cycles. There are numerous calculators online showing you the power of starting early and letting time work on your favor, how a smaller amount of money early leads to more money later. And as strange as it may sound, the contributions during the bad years in the market are actually the most important ones. So having a system to stay consistent year after year helps with taxes and volatility. And that's why starting early makes sense. An analogy I use sometimes is retirement saving is like going to the gym. If you go to the gym for a day or for a week, nothing happens. You might be sore, but you have no real results to observe or to brag about. But if you do that consistently for a year or 10 or 20, you would have a hard time hiding the results at that point. So I tell groups the following. I say, habits have predictable outcomes. Whatever your habits are going to manifest themselves in your life in very predictable ways. Now, there's a time delay, which makes us think we can avoid the inevitable, but our habits have predictable outcomes. Saving in your own account over a period of years has a very predictable outcome. Namely, it's the ability to create the life you want when you're no longer a full-time business owner.
Wow. It's amazing how I love the comparison with the gym, and I love the idea that there's a predictable outcome. So habits are really good in the business area, and habits are really good in thinking of retirement. So we're coming on to about 3 more minutes. So I think that there's a chance for one last question and a summary from you in those last 3 minutes. So this is a little off subject, but retirement now is in my mind as a business owner, and I know I'm covered, and I'm very aware that that's an important thing. And I'm also very aware of how important my people are, especially in this time. I often get, what do I do about retirement and my people and my employees? Tell us a little bit about retirement plans that I can get as a business owner for my folks?
It's really never been more important than it is today.
Yeah.
When you look at the news, whether it's people rethinking their work-life balance or looking for higher wages or better benefits, we are right now in what they're calling the Great Resignation, as a huge number of people are voluntarily leaving their jobs, and hiring has gotten more and more competitive. So this conversation, we've been discussing retirement plans as a benefit to the business owner, but it's also one of the most basic ways to attract and retain quality employees. There are ways to reward key employees. There are ways to protect against the negative effects of that person leaving. And in general, in this environment, can be the deciding factor between getting that next great hire or losing them to a competitor. So it's very important.
Right, right. So one more minute, wrap it up for us. I think that's hard to do, but I know, Pedro, that you can do that in our last minute. Yes, this time has gone by and it's been a joy.
I just thank you so much for having me. I always love our conversations. I think you and I really do pretty much the same thing, just in different ways. We're really trying to maximize the performance and value of the business. You do it through systems, people, and operational insight. I do it through financial means. Ultimately, it's the same goal. You call it true business ownership. I really just define it as independence, being able to maintain your lifestyle, whether you're working 1 day a week or working 7 days a week. There's no plan that's right for everyone. So from my perspective, I just look at independence and flexibility as the measure of successful planning. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Pedro, I just love that ending. It's so spot on and true. Thank you again for all your insights and for the examples that you give. It's not just these are the principles, these are the practices. It's also, this is the mindset, and this is why it's the mindset and what could happen if you went one way, but then there's also the healthy and wealthier way. So thanks again so much. And now let me turn to all of you, the viewers out there. Pedro and I know that this has been a one-way, and it's been great to give you all this information, but the questions might be piling up. So Pedro and I have put together a Q&A session that is happening, and it is free, and we would love to hear your questions. And yet I need to invite you, and the way I will do that is at the end of this show, you will see the credits running, and you will see my email address. Please, if you wish to attend, just shoot me an email saying I'd love to go to the Q&A with Pedro, and I will send that. I won't spam you. I will send that. And lastly, if there was one morsel of information that you took away today from Pedro's time with us, then stay tuned. In June, we have yet another business episode, and Pedro hinted to it. He didn't even realize we were going to do this. And next topic is a hot one also, which is attracting and retaining talent through key benefits. Talk about that great resignation, Pedro. So come and join us in June, and have a great month between now and then. And please take care.